In today's episode, a turtle enters the workshop, the dog runs wild through the backyard, and the deck gets fiberglassed.
I am so excited. This is awesome. So for the front hatch, remember I said I wanted to do something with the turtle theme. So I went online and I found this photo on Google, and I took it and I stretched it. So it basically is the shell is pretty much the same dimensions, a little bit different shape obviously, but same dimensions as the hatch that the template that came with the kit. So what I'm going to do is I just finished marking the back of this with just some soft lead pencil, and I'm going to trace over it so I can get this outline onto the boat. The boat's now all pre-sanded, ready to go for that, so that's done. And I'm going to trace that on there, and I'm going to use a wood burner, and I'm going to burn that pattern of this onto the boat. Once that's done, and the fiberglass is done, then we go ahead and cut this out. But this will give me that nice outline to work from. Since this kayak started during the pandemic, I thought it would be appropriate to inlay a 2020 penny into the deck. So what I'm going to do is lay this right in here, like that, just an inlay, and then we'll fiberglass right over top of it. I'm using as a Forstner bit here, and I'm going to run it backward just to etch that surface, make sure I'm straight. Really only get one shot at this. Okay. Now that's going to keep it from splintering out on me as bad. Forward a little bit. Just so happens this bit is exactly the same size as the penny, which is kind of cool. Just gonna go a little at a time, so don't go too deep. Very light pressure. That's gonna work perfect. I'll just set that in with some super glue, and that will hold it until the epoxy holds it in place. All right, guys, we are ready to put the fiberglass on the deck. Everything's sanded and ready. I've got I put visqueen on the floor this time. Last time I put drop cloths, and that epoxy goes right through it and sealed it to the floor. So plastic's a much better option. I've also got extra roll of tape or extra piece of tape all the way down here. And I purposely left this bottom edge loose up against there, so as the epoxy comes down, it will drip off instead of down the hole. So that's an important one. Got my turtle decoration all completed. That's gonna be kind of cool. And I'm just gonna, for the hatch, after this is done, you cut this hatch out. So that'll be the hatch. Got my penny inlaid. Also put plastic inside because you don't want it dripping through this cockpit and into there as well. So everything is ready. Just gotta roll the fiberglass out and start the epoxy. All right, so I got the fiberglass unfurled over the deck here. I haven't smoothed it or anything yet, but I just wanted to let you know in the hull when I was doing that, I said, you know, each roll of fiberglass they give you, I think will cover the full length of the boat twice. So you got one roll does the entire outside, one does the entire inside. So I still have one roll left over here, as you can see, but you can see we've got about 3.5, 4 feet left over on the end of this roll as well. So you have plenty of material to work with, so don't worry about coming up short. So I just finished running a putty knife just around that perimeter, just to break that little sealing. If you remember, we put tape over that, over the hull, so when the deck wouldn't stick to it. It sticks a little bit to the tape, so just release that a little bit, and now I'm just gonna kind of start prying up a little bit and see if I can get the whole thing to release. It feels like it's pretty loose at this end. Stations fairly easily. Stick it in. There we go. Just like that. Now I just gotta find a place in the shop to set this down. So I got the two pieces apart. I got the station forms out of here for the most part. Still got a couple left up in the end here. But it's kind of funny, the boat goes from being really cool looking yesterday to being like it's not even close again. Gotta get this all cleaned up and sanded inside here. I did find a place for the other part to go here. Just on the wall, just stuck it up there. It's amazing how light this stuff is. Gosh, I think that thing is like 5 pounds. It's great. For the most part, the inside of the boat is not really very visible, not seen, so you, the directions tell you you don't need to sand this as smooth as you did for the outside. You really need to get it good enough so you can do the fiberglass work. So like spots like this where, it's hard to see in here, okay, where this stem piece was in here, there's a little lip right here, right? So we're gonna have to fill that with some thickened epoxy, all the little joints in here. You wanna get this kind of as smooth as you can, so once you get that fiberglass, it'll lay in there nicely, because it doesn't like to go around corners very well. So things like that, and I'm going through and just kind of picking off all this stuff too. I am gonna sand the inside. I'm gonna get it pretty nice, but it doesn't have to look like the outside does. But all this hot melt glue and things like that, we're just gonna scrape that down. And I'm probably going to use a scraper on a lot of this to clean it up instead of sandpaper, just because of that curve. Just use a cabinet scraper, it should work pretty well. What I've just kind of been doing is just kind of smeared it in here. Once I get it there, then I can just move it around with the glove a lot easier, but I'm just using the stick to stick it in there. It's okay if it gets all over the place, because this whole spot's going to be epoxied later anyway. And it's kind of just like laying caulk. Just smush it down. Try to get it as smooth as you can. The fiberglass will thank you for it later. Okay, something like that. Let that cure overnight. Okay, following along in the cookbook, we are at step 35 now, and 36 actually, because I'm going to do them both at the same time, and that's fiberglassing the inside of both the pieces that we have built. So here's the hull that is ready. In the directions it says do these one at a time, but it's a heck of a lot easier to mix up the stuff and do them both at the same time, really, because I got one in the cradle and one just sitting on the workbench. Then the other thing you do is to cut out an extra piece of fiberglass to put around each hatch, because you want to strengthen that area, because that's going to have a little more stress on it because it's a cutout opening there. You don't need to do as much for the cockpit, because that will have a lot of strength in it built in as we built up that combing and everything. So that's going to get extra fiberglass when that all happens. So I've got the piece in the back laid out, and it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Nobody's ever going to see this because it's inside, but just cut it out so it's about 4 inches bigger than the entire hatch will be. That'll just give it a little extra strength. That extra fabric, or the full length fabric, will just lay over top of that, and this will all get wetted out together. Okay, I've got the fiberglass laid out on the deck here. You can see right here I had a spot where I was just fighting with it, and I just made a slice in there and just overlapped the two pieces. Perfectly acceptable. That'll be a little stronger than the rest of it, no big deal. You can see underneath I've got those other reinforcing pieces for the hatches. And then where the cockpit is all just wrinkly, but that's not even going to get any epoxy on it. We'll just leave that plain. Working over here to the hull now. So at this end, you can see it's still just kind of up in the air, hasn't settled in yet. I've been working this back end instead. That goes on fairly easy until you get to this part where it's like vertical coming into this point here. And then you end up with all this extra material right here. So what you do is just basically slice that down there, and you're just going to overlap. One will go in, one will go the other way, just like I did in that cut on the other part. Just kind of fight that in there. Nobody's ever going to see this part, so it really doesn't matter. But you do want to keep it continuous if you can. Make sure you overlap those just for the strength and everything. So up in the front end here, I was able to get this to fit without doing that overlap. It has more of a gentle curve here, so that fit pretty darn nicely. So now what I'm doing is I'm going along, you see I already did on this end, I'm cutting off all of this extra material. So get yourself a brand new blade, really sharp, nice blade, and just go right along the top there. This is not absolutely necessary to do, but what happens if you don't do it is, as that fabric's wrapping over here, it's kind of pulling it off. You probably can't see it very well, but it just tends to pull this edge away a little bit. So by taking that pressure off it, it lets it kind of relax. And because that wood has been sanded with a fairly rough 100 grit, it will not, I shouldn't say it will not, it kind of hangs on like Velcro onto the weave of this stuff. So as you go along, just kind of support the part that you're cutting so it's not just hanging here. I'm trying to pull everything away like it just did on me right there. It didn't cut through well enough. That'll go back on. And I'm just cutting it right near the top. It doesn't have to be really critical. When you put the two pieces together, when you put the deck on the hull here, we're going to be fiberglassing these back together with strips to hold them back together anyway. So you're going to add more fiberglass, more resin on this area. So it's not critical to have it right up to the edge.